We've built the gatefold and back panel for the front of our trifold brochure. Let's work on the cover panel. That's this third one right over here as we're building on this. And while we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to work a little bit with color graphics and arranging graphics and text to build the cover of our trifold brochure. Now, to do that, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get my selection arrow and make sure that I have nothing selected. Whenever you're placing new documents, you always want to make sure that nothing is selected. If you don't do that, what will happen is you'll replace whatever you previously had placed with whatever you wanted to place somewhere else. So with nothing selected, I'm going to go Command D since I'm working on the Mac platform here. If you're working with a Windows PC, Control D would do the same thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the text for front cover copy .rtf. Double click on that, and I'm just going to click and put that right here in this panel. Now as I've got that built, once again we're dealing with the situation we were talking about before, in that we've got some text formatting in here and we've got a lot of things that we'd like to do, but as a practical matter we might want to change the rules for taking that and making that work. So I'm going to get into this with my text tool. Go Command A, Control A if you're working on a Windows PC, and I'm going to make it all body copy. Now, because I've got some formatting inside of this, what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to hold down the Alt key, Option key on the Mac, and click again to make sure that no ifs, ands, or buts. What this is this will now be body copy type. I'm going to click into the headline paragraph here, and I'm going to say you are a headline. And as I look at it, that's not bad, but it doesn't break very cleanly. If I just hit a return key here, what that'll do is sometimes that'll add extra space, which I may or may not want to do. Another way that I could do that would be to hold down the Shift and Return key on the Mac or the PC. That does what's called a soft return and allows me to keep the paragraph attributes, but takes that and sets it aside. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now I'm going to take this text, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. Let's try 19, 20, 21, 22 points. It looks like it'll take that. I'm going to take the leading and place it 22 on 21 here. What that does, that gives me a nice solid block of type that I'd like to work with. I'm going to take the swatch color and I'm going to make that Pantone 288C. Now as I do that, what's happened is it's applied the text attribute for color and we've changed the type size. If I go back in here and click in it and I go back to my paragraph styles, I'll see that that's based on it with the overrides to change the color, the size, and the leading for that type. So even though it looks different than my headline paragraph style, it essentially is exactly the same. I'm going to get my selection tool. I'm going to drag this down a little bit further. And what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to highlight all this text right here. And I'm going to apply a very quick bullet attribute to it. And the way I do that is I can go from here to this little flyaway menu on the control panel and select bullets and numbering. This is also available if I'd gone from the type pull down menu. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this list type that I've got is going to be set for bullets. If I click the preview button, that'll let me know what that looks like. And as I look at it, I can see, ooh, that's kind of ugly. That's not exactly what I wanted. That's okay. I can deal with that and adjust for that shortly. The first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of all this extra space that I've got loaded in. So I'm going to take this tab position that says skip it over 1/2 inch, and I'm going to bring that down a bunch. I'm going to bring that down to 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch away from that bullet area. Now because I have the preview box checked here, as I'm working with this bullets and numbering dialog box, what it's actually done is it's actually set that in, and I can see that the black area is where the text will be for that to be set a little closer. I'm going to say OK, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these manual bullet points that were loaded in from the word processing program, simply by clicking and placing my cursor here and pressing the delete key. So that's not bad. That's a bad looking type, except for the fact that for the cover it looks kind of wimpy. So we can take this, we're going to cheat that a little bit. We're going to highlight this type and we're going to make it larger. We're going to say 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 points. And you'll notice how that bullet area underneath here, that doesn't line up correctly. We're going to fix that in just a little bit. Let me take the leading and we'll make that 18 on 20 points. So now that type is bigger, and as we can see that works pretty well. I'm going to go to the paragraph attributes, and I'm going to give that a space after for each of these. So I'll just make that 1/8 of an inch. Drag this down a little bit further. And then I'm going to highlight this type, and I'm going to change how the type lines up for my indents. Now, remember, as I built this bullet, what it did is it set a rule, and we said it wanted it 1/8 of an inch in. So what I want to do is for the left side margin, I want to make that 0.125. And as I hit the tab key, it'll take that and it'll move everything over, as we can see, over to the right. To create a hanging indent for that bullet there, what I need to do is I need to take the first indent and I need to make that minus 0.125. And when I hit the tab key there, that will set up the bullets that I was looking for, just as I've got right in here. So I have the ability to do a fair amount of formatting and fine-tuning as I'm working with this type, dealing with bulleted type, simply by adjusting margins working in the control panel. I could have also done this from the paragraph attributes that I have loaded in here, but we'll just work from the control panel. So as I've got that set, this let me build this and really fine-tune what I'm looking for. Now as I've got this text, I've got kind of an ugly spot in here. This will allow me to demonstrate what that ability to set a discretionary return in here, or soft return into it is. If I want to take that all courses and split it down to the next line, and I just hit the return key, you'll see what it does. It creates a brand new bullet and a different indent. I want to use what's known as a forced line break. So I don't want to change the paragraph attributes. I just want to push this down to the next line. So as I'm doing this here, what I'm going to do is just select that, and you'll see it broke it down just like so. I'm going to do the same thing here for this project files, but this time I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut to go Shift Return. That works the same on the Mac or the PC, to break that down to the next line. So that discretionary, or that forced line break, doesn't change my paragraph attributes. It doesn't create a brand new bullet. It just takes this and builds this in. I'm going to take this extra space out of here, and I'm going to take this type and I'm going to align that over to the right, just like so. Now I want to place a couple of graphics. I'm going to go Command D, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a graphic here. The one I want is 2 volts, computer graphics, etc. masked. When I open it and I place that graphic down, you'll see that there's no background really loaded into that. I'm going to move this over here so the left side margin comes right up against the blue folding point that I've set for my back panel. I'm going to go Command Shift, working on the Mac platform, Control Shift if I was working with a Windows PC, and I'm going to stretch this up and to the right to the point where it fills all the way to the bleed area outside of my page. Now, that looks pretty good, except for the fact that I want to put one of these logos up on top. And I've got all this extra space below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up just like so, adjust it so it fits. Going to hold down the Shift key and click on the picture as well, so I have both the text and the image selected. And I'm going to scoot that down to the point to where it fits right on the bottom, just like so. Then I'm going to go get my Total Training Online logo. I'm going to go Command C to copy it. I'm going to go Command V to paste it. That puts it smack in the center of my page. And I'm going to move this all the way up here to the very top of that third column or front cover. Now, I've got a little bit more fine-tuning to do. I want to take this picture and we'll bring it down just a hair. I've clicked on it, and I'm using the arrow keys to bump that down just a touch. I'm going to do the same here with my text. And since I've finished the front cover of my trifold brochure, let's save our work. I'm going to go File, Save or Save As. It really doesn't matter which we select because we can see that this is untitled. It doesn't have a name before it, so I'm just going to click on Save. And what I'm going to do in this case is I'm not going to place it in Chapter 5. I'm going to place it in Chapter 6. And I'm going to name this file my name. You can use your first name here. And then the number 6, so I know where my working file is. And you'll notice by default, it wants to save that as an InDesign CS6 document. We're going to let it do that by clicking the Save button right here and creating the front of our trifold brochure.